What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. Important to note, we are back on X, formerly known as Twitter. Monster shout out to myself for that. Stoked about it. After a brief hiatus, we are totally back. It is Thursday, a throwback Thursday. Y'all already know that. And I've got the usual suspects hanging out with me on this fine Thursday afternoon. Sorry about my voice here. I'll get that figured out once I toss this one out to Philadelphia to my good friend, Head of Opinions, Anthony Ricciardi. What's going on?
Doing all right. Another week gone. And it was the 250th Dynamite last night. And we're obviously covering that. And another fun throwback, as always.
Always 100% stoked to be here on a Thursday. A fun Dynamite last night too. A lot of good things going on. Let's toss this one though out to the DM. It's not Tuesday, but get your twos in the air for the Tuesday Night Delight himself. Shoddy, what's good?
What's going on, guys? I am good. I officially got some Wrestling Republic gear too, so I'm feeling good about that. But yeah, man, eventful Dynamite last night, I might have to say, right? A lot, not a lot happened in regards to like what's on the lineup, but like a lot did happen if you put in a vacuum. But we're here to talk about it, so let's break it down.
100%. I mean, our opening segment, we have to talk about Max and Will, MJF and Bruv, MJF and Ospreay. They teased Broadway. And to me, it's really funny because we're going to spend less time talking about this subject than they spent wrestling last night, which I do have to note out of the gates. Deserves a lot of credit. Deserves a ton of credit. Both guys being in that kind of physical condition to do that. I mean, Will Ospreay did a running up a wall spot like 40 minutes into the match off of Max's chest. That's ridiculous. That's out of a video game. Right? That's when you turn stamina off in NBA 2K. It doesn't make sense. We've got the finish to me is the brilliance of this. It seemed so obvious. They were going Broadway. They're going 60. They're going 60. And Max and Ospreay literally created a pro wrestling buzzer beater last night. Out of left field. That is not something I had on my bingo card. I did not have 59-58 for my projected match time. That's unreal to time it like that. It's crazy. I really loved the match. Criticize it all you would like. Certain people, have said that there were too many kickouts and whatnot. How else do you go 60? This was as close to a Flair Steamboat affair as I've seen, with a creative finish as the cherry on top. What more could we ask for, Anthony? I got to ask you what your thoughts are on it.
Okay, my opinion may be different from a lot of people. Up front, I want to say, other than Cody Rhodes, probably Will Ospreay and MJF, I've probably written about more than any other people since I've been with Wrestling Republic. I have nothing but respect for both guys. I think they're generational talents. To go 60 minutes is not everybody can do that. And they were able to do it. Athleticism, stamina, whatever you want to say, they have it. But for me personally, the match didn't hit as well as I expected. A lot of things happened in that match that I thought were like glaring. And this happens a lot in AEW, where there's just like a random table at ringside and they use it and it's not a DQ. They're fighting in the crowd, which typically I wouldn't mind, But as far as I know, it was not a street fight and not a no disqualification. The refereeing I thought was very weird during the match because occasionally he would start the 10 count, but then they were out of the ring more than 10 seconds for everything else that was going on outside. So like it's little consistency things that annoy me with that stuff. I don't think any bookie in Vegas had that not going 60 once you pass the 50-minute mark. I think everyone expected, okay, this is going to draw. That's how they're going to do it. That way you keep the title on Ospreay and MJF doesn't lose anything for it. The fact that they pulled off that swerve, and I get why they did it. It's the 250th episode. You want something big and something memorable. Obviously, them going that length and having a new champion come out of it, obviously, is something that they wanted to create a buzz. I get it. I understood it. Is it on my list of one of the best matches of the year? Not really. I mean, I've seen a lot of matches. I'm not saying it was a bad match, but it just didn't. It didn't hit to me the way the verbal jabs did leading up to it. Like I didn't feel the intensity at times. I felt you guys are kind of going through the motions to get to the 60. Like I didn't get the heat that you would get from like Hangman and Swerve, or when it was Danielson was doing it when Hangman running the distance. I didn't feel the same way, and sometimes it just doesn't connect with people in the audience. But for me, I just didn't get it, and the crowd they were hot at different points, but overall, I don't think they were as hot as they could have been during this. Like they had spurts, but that's about it.
That is a totally fair assessment, and I get that, especially when you're looking at the comparison of like, I mean, they went Broadway, near Broadway, Kenny Omega and Danielson, right? I think back to that match though at I apologize, at Arthur Ashe, right? They went the full 60. By comparison to that one, I agree with you in a lot of ways that it wasn't necessarily every single second can't take your eyes off of it.
Yeah.
But I think the brilliance of the way that it was laid out, like you mentioned, about that 50-minute mark, we all started to think, okay, here it is. They're going Broadway. It's going to be a draw. Heck of a match.
Yeah.
And they got us.
Yeah.
That to me is what put this one over the top. That was the brilliance by a lot. And that's not to say that there were not athletic or good moves throughout, but it was up and down, to your point. I actually agree with that.
And I do want to say, I love the visual at the end with Max with the oxygen mask holding the belt, because it fits the character. So like the finish in that, I think those were the best parts of it.
Pulling the mask down got me so good.
Yeah.
I was dying when he's pulling it down, trying to talk, and then just vintage Max. Like that's so up his alley.
He said it was easy work.
Yeah, it's easy work. Like it was perfect. It was like, it's almost like he had an inhaler. It was hilarious. The way that he sold it got me so good. I gotta also give Ospreay credit for his selling. He sold the leg for a long time. There were some spots late in the match where let's say adrenaline allowed the leg to function a little bit better.
Magical healing, yes.
Let's say he had an adrenaline boost. We're gonna go with that, at least in my eyes. But I really did enjoy it, and even like the missed hidden blade stuff, those sequences at the end were really, really cool. Even like the getting out of the tombstone from the middle rope. That was one of my favorite spots of the match. It is crazy. They really did go that long. Shad, your thoughts on the match? Tommy Dreamer said it was a top 20 match of all time this morning, and that made my head almost explode. But hey, I have wrestled significantly less matches than Tommy Dreamer. I can't criticize. Right. I'm just saying that was it's a wild thing to say.
Yeah, he's subjected to his opinion. It was definitely it was an incredible match, right? It was a great television match. I don't think you can, pinpoint a better match for a monumental show like that, being Dynamite 250. Crazy to think I was at the first Dynamite 5+ years ago now. We're already here at 250 episodes. And I thought they did go the distance. I think this is just another tally for Will Ospreay's monumental year that he's been having in AEW. Like it's one of those things where the guy steps into the ring, wrestles, and you walk after the match, you're like, man, that could have been possible match of the year. And he's got a few of those, and that's a lot of credit to him. An incredible talent. And I do kind of agree with some of the uh, criticisms in regards to it did lag a little bit for me, or drag a little bit for me at times. But I'm gonna cut him some slack because it ain't easy to go an hour, right? And it's not easy to captivate people for 60 minutes. I mean, these fans in the arena can get captivated, lose interest in like 5 minutes, right? So for them to at least have people engaged, fighting on the top barricades, fighting on like by the tunnel near the tunnel, having the little girl chop MJF. Osprey just kind of going out there and picking a lot of moves from different wrestlers. Hitting the Styles clashes, hitting the crossroads. They really put it all out there, and I think MJF did a phenomenal job too. We got to give him credit because I think he's a guy that people kind of forget that he's a great in-ring wrestler on top of being a great character. So, I mean, all in all, the match was great. My interest is what goes on after this, right? Because I agree. What made the match amazing to me was that finish. I thought the finish was so creative. Like y'all said, I thought it was gonna be we're going to 60, safe call, no contest. We can run it back at Wembley. Well, now you got the case where he hit, like you said, buzzer beater, right? He's Derek Fisher against the Spurs, except it's 2 seconds, but
Point four.
and right, it's not point four, it's 2 seconds. It may have been more than 60 to be honest with you, but who's
Yeah.
counting? Um, but it's interesting because said prior to Forbidden Door, I said it'd be cool to have Osprey go through some critical losses, losing to Swerve, then following up and losing his belt. I thought it was going to be to a possible Daniel Garcia, but losing it to an MJF is good. This allows Osprey to kind of get his hands free and allow him go back into the chase. And this is where you build your monumental baby face that you have, and this is where you get him on the right track to eventually go against Swerve again, and he gets his championship at AEW Gold. Because I don't really think he needs the mid card title. I don't know if they're gonna run it back. They may run it back at Wembley for the moment purpose of it and him winning it back, but I would kind of just let it be get gone. Like let him not have that belt and get him to greener pastures, being an AEW champion. Obviously, that can't happen at Wembley, but maybe after, maybe at All Out. Who knows? I think the thing is this, right? People are very key on these moments and getting these big home wins. Let's be real, man. These things don't matter that much as people make it out to be. I know it's cool and it's nice to see, but like not every moment has to be, oh, the hometown person got to win in their home state. We fall into bad booking with that. I'm always gonna say WWE did a piss poor job letting Aladon and Kaylee Ray get them tag titles because they're not doing nothing just because they wanted
Yeah.
them to give them the moment. If there's no direction for it, don't do it just to force it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I think it really, you need to strike a balance with the hometown thing. Sometimes it's really great to have the hometown wrestler get the big pop on the entrance, take a loss. Sometimes it's great to get the big pop and get the big moment, but the timing's got to be right, right? Like Sting's not necessarily from Greensboro, but what we saw there is special, right? There are certain times where like
he had
it's
plenty of
special
history
to him
there.
with the venue and whatnot. But I do agree with you, Shadi, and when it comes to that, like I'm very much on the same page. We got a bunch of comments here that I wanted to read really quick. Well, I mean, David Modge, of course, friend of the show with, oh yeah, we're live. Yes, sir, always. And then Bobby said, I still wish that we got Will Ospreay versus Pac at AEW All In. I would have no issue with that. David
Be a
Modge
heck of a
commenting
match.
on you attending the first Dynamite. Whoa, that's cool. So that's
Yes, sir.
250 Wednesdays ago. Shad was at Dynamite 1. That's kind
Yeah,
of nuts.
man. 2019, bro. I'll never forget it. I went with one of my best friends. Salute to him, AJ. He hit me up. He's like, "Yo, I got these tickets to Dynamite for AEW," and I kind of knew about AEW. I was like, oh, for real? I was like, that sounds fun. And then we went, and honestly, that really kind of got me like glued back into watching wrestling religiously after a little while. So, shout outs to AEW, man. Like they really
Yes.
have a very important part in the history of pro wrestling, and I'm excited to see what they continue to do as they are writing their history in the books.
Absolutely. So we have one more comment that I want to quickly address from a good friend of ours, of course, Wrestling Republic's own Soul. How will the story of Ospreay not using the Tiger Driver 97 continue after this match? And the answer is,
Go ahead. You
this
go
match
first.
was the best thing that's happened to that story yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he doesn't come back upset, not happy, angry at everybody, and just says, you know what? You're getting spiked on your head now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what comes out of this. That's the logical answer. That's the perfect narrative. This finally drove him over the edge. He went 58 or 59, 58 with Maxwell Jacob Friedman and lost his title, and he's finally sick of it. And so now, guess what? I don't care anymore. I'm not happy. You're getting spiked.
Tiger Driver.
Yes.
You know what honestly would be a cool callback though? Say Swerve loses to Danielson, and then him and Danielson run it back, and that's how he beats Danielson again, because he not to use it again, and he has to use it again for that. That'd be cool, but it may happen to Max, because Max is a heel. So
he's gonna put Max right on the top of his head.
Oh yeah, they're definitely running this back though. I mean, that was. I feel like it'd be. Hey man, I look. I got to give credit where it's due. Ospreay is as good as he is written out to be. He's probably the best professional wrestler in the world. Like him and Gunther are 1A and 1B to me. I don't think people are really messing with them two right now when it talks about pure wrestling in the ring.
Bell to bell, man. Whoa,
Yeah.
that's nuts. That is absolutely nuts.
His sequence game of hidden moves is like you said, it's like a video game, bro. Like
Totally.
he's able to go from one sequence to hitting a move to hitting another move like in the snap of a finger.
It's silly his athleticism actually. And it's not just athleticism. It's like hand-eye. It would be the best way I could describe it, because he makes stuff that's dangerous look like he's doing it casually. It's almost like when they talk about style points in like skateboarding, right? Part of it is the way that he delivers. He doesn't look super technical. He doesn't look super rigid. He just looks fluid all in everything he does. And he does these legitimate stunts. Like in another life, Will Ospreay is the best movie stuntman in the industry.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's not easy to maintain your and I think Anthony, you mentioned it a little while ago, right? When we did the parallel between him and Ricochet, I think that is a lot of his credit that he's been able to, he's really smart knowing how to work with different styles. Like he had a good match with Jericho last year. Come on, bro.
He did.
Listen, a couple years ago, it was in January. I saw him wrestle Okada, Brian Cage, and I forget who the third person was, but three completely different styles. Oh, Michael Oku for Rev Pro. Three completely different styles, and every match was phenomenal. So, he knows what he's doing.
100%. Okay, let's move on to our next segment, though.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, guys. Hi. It's TV time. And with the Redwood and the Bounty Hunter and whatever's going on, Chris Jericho is on TV and teaching people how to be good wrestlers and be entertaining. And he's still doing it. And he did it again last night. So, Anthony, I do have to ask you, as our head of opinions, I have a good feeling about your opinion being a bad feeling about this. I gotta ask you about it anyway.
Oh, lucky me. I get to cover AEW's version of Hooked on Phonics. Honestly, I will not be enrolling in Learning Tree University.
Is gold.
I knew the older audience would appreciate that because you remember the commercials, don't you? Honestly, I've made it very clear. I don't care for the learning tree. I don't care for it. Quite frankly, I know it's cringe for the sake of being cringe, but to me, that doesn't make it entertaining. You know, I don't care. And perfectly honest. Okay, he's got a belt. He's going to face Suzuki. Okay. You know,
I did like Minoru's entrance was at least fun. I will say this. This has to all be building to the moment where finally he's teaching all of his subjects all this new information, all this new stuff. He's giving them all of this advice. And he realizes when he looks at the redwood that he's 7 feet tall and you can't teach that. And that is what this is all building towards. That's the one thing Chris can't teach. He can't. And if this builds to that, it's worth it. It's worth it.
So are what you are suggesting that a rival professor will come in?
He finally realizes
with leopard attire and tries to recruit the redwood. And you really want an Enzo Jericho feud in AEW?
Not necessarily, maybe. I mean, obviously that could work.
Some men like to watch the world burn too. So
go ahead. I just think that the moment in and of itself where he's finally like, I've taught you everything I know. And maybe it's even the redwood himself that says it. And he's like, but I'm 7 feet tall and you can't teach that. I'm just saying the learning tree, you can't learn height. That's it. That's just science. And it took a lot of tutoring for me to pass most of my sciences, but
yeah, Jericho's a biology teacher now.
That's just like genetics and like, they talk about it in like an anatomy and stuff. It's definitely like, it's not like he can't, there's no way he could teach the redwood to be that tall. It's the one thing, man. He'll never learn under that tree. He is the tree. See? It's all symbolism. I think we're all getting worked here. I don't know. We'll find out about
it. I think that was in a fortune cookie. That sounds like fortune cookie wisdom there.
What's your shout out Panda Express? I did get Panda the other day. All right. Let's talk about our good friends over at Next Level. If you're looking for more wrestling content, especially from us over here at Wrestling Republic, check us out. Head over to Next Level. It is absolutely free. No gimmicks, giveaways, all kinds of good stuff. Go to nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic. All of our content linked across all of our platforms in the same place. You'll love it. Check it out. Monster shout out. Let's finally move on, though, from speaking of trees to a situation where we're looking at a lot of letters involved here. We've got CEOs, we've got DMDs, and it's
all happening in AEW.
It's going down. It is absolutely going down. Mercedes Moné with the big title defense. It's huge. Britt Baker not supposed to be there. Britt Baker there. One of my favorite things about last night.
I didn't see her. I thought it was Sting.
It was Sting. She was Sting last night, actually. It's DMD. She's here. No, she did it. She was one scalpel away from removing some teeth, I think. At least that was my analysis on that one. I love DMD, and I'm really excited for Monet and Dr. Britt. Underrated match, though. The match was solid and entertaining and really hard to follow. Really hard to follow a 60-minute match. Yes, we had segments between and whatnot, but really hard to be the next one. And I thought they did a really solid job, especially giving the run in to kind of keep you locked into the show for the rest of the way. I thought this was very well booked, and I was stoked about it. And once again, I sound like a broken record, but CEO, DMD, put it on a poster, put it on a t-shirt, talk to me. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I got to give credit to the match first and foremost. And like you said, a lot of the show struggled after going past a 60-minute barn burner, right? It ain't really easy, and it's not easy to book. That's a lot of time allocated for one match, and it's hard to kind of pinpoint several segments after that within the hour, commercial breaks, all of that jazz. So, credit to those two women. Nyla Rose getting an opportunity, having that first match for the title, for the AEW Women's title against Rio, and then, getting to be on the 250 card going against Mercedes. I thought they had a good styles clash. Just another tally for Mercedes on this great run she's having in 2024 as a competitor. I thought the finish was great. I like that Mercedes got out her little stylish CEO glove trying to hit the lockjaw, and Nyla just bites on her fingers, and it just goes to her doing the whatever it is called, the Monet statement. It used to be the bank statement, uh,
Yeah.
and pulling out the win. And yeah, I think everything is starting to click with Mercedes because they have pivoted her as a heel. I love having the whole, you know, pseudo bond with the elite, right? Her kind of being like a unsung member of the elite, them saying, "Oh, we made sure Britt's not going to be there," and then Britt actually obviously being there in the Sting costume, chasing her down. This is the second week we've kind of had a little bit of a chase down. This one was good, but I want to see us kind of get back to the meat and potatoes, and that's what these women can do on the mic because you don't have a Britt Baker if you don't that's not utilizing the Britt Baker if you're not letting her, you know, flip her gums out on the mic because that woman can talk and she can sell you a ticket for a feud. And I think that's what we're ultimately slow building to. But I think that's going to be a big time match because when you think about it, bro, this was a little bit of a dream match for people when they were talking about, oh, if they ever did a AEW versus WWE match, right? Because everyone loves Sasha Mercedes Moné back in the day and what she was doing as a Monster Hill, and everybody loves Britt for what she does as a Monster Hill and being so over in AEW. Now they let her be the babyface. It's working. I think we can continue to build with it. And yeah, man, I'm liking Monet's title reign so far. I think everything is fresh because she's new here, and I think she's been able to get some good matches out of a very talented women's division in AEW. So hopefully we get a couple matches down the road, or if she retains, we get some other great matches too. I still got to see her and Sheeta. Like that's the match that I'm itching for so badly because I think they would literally have an all-timer match. Sheeta and Mercedes, man, I'm just I'm gonna hit the Monet dance just because of that, bro. That's so great.
I mean, the CEO dance is so much fun. And even just chanting DMD is so much fun.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
and
it's the battle of
Okada,
the
man.
letters.
Okada, relax, bro. Relax. Don't get a
Yes.
little too thirsty, man. All right. We watched you what you did yesterday. All right. Nah, bro.
It's a
Nah.
great, it's a great, great call. Okay. Let's talk about our next segment though. A crazy one. Tony Storm cuts. Wait, no, not Tony Storm. Mariah May as the Timeless One. Talk about gimmick infringement, dang it. The curlers, it all made sense. As soon as I heard the British accent, I knew she wasn't Australian, and obviously it was not Tony Storm. But dang it, she cut deep. I was waiting for Tony to do the run in. That's what I wanted. I mean, I'm so excited to see this matchup and to see this rivalry play out. They've told an amazing story in every step of the way it lands. I've got one critique before I ask you about it, Anthony. She's not as good at being timeless as Tony Storm.
Well,
Everything else has landed. But Tony played that character with the mannerisms and has this whole time so much better than what Mariah did last night. I loved the promo. I loved the idea of the promo. But if the point is that she's surpassing Tony, this is the first place she hasn't. She's looked amazing bell to bell. She's looked amazing in her character work. She's looked amazing on the mic, working alongside Tony. This is the first time she did not outshine Toni Storm, because Toni Storm in the curlers, as the timeless Toni Storm, is better than that. She is. She's more entertaining and she's better on the mic. That's my personal opinion. But Ant, I gotta ask you, obviously, your thoughts on it. And does it feel too obvious that Mariah's going over in her hometown?
Listen, every masterpiece has its cheap copy. So, I liked that Mariah came out dressed as Toni. I mean, she's playing this delusional heel, playing off of a delusional character to begin with. Because remember, Toni was originally a delusional heel that became beloved because people loved the delusion. So, Mariah being the quote unquote understudy that tried to surpass, the main event. I liked it. I liked the promo. I know Tony Schiavone got a lot of flack. Although I do think it was in character what he did on commentary.
I thought so too.
I mean, who hasn't been in meetings or been in a class and you don't want to be there and you have to hear this person speak and you're like, just get it over. And other things you think through your head if like it needs to get done. So I understood. He said the quiet part out loud. I get it. It's in character. He's a babyface commentator. He's notorious for that. He used to do it with MJF all the time. Still does it with MJF. But the Mariah thing, what I would do with this is I think it is the right move keeping Toni off TV. I would keep Toni off TV for weeks. I would do vignettes, black and white vignettes, her face all bandaged up. You don't see her, you just hear her, and you see the bandages, that type of stuff. I wouldn't bring her back until she actually comes out at All In, because I think it would be a bigger pop if that's the first time people have seen her in over like 2 months. And I honestly, I would have Toni go over. Because I think everyone expects Mariah to go over because they did it with Saraya last year, and that didn't work out. Other than the pop for the hometown crowd, that title reign went nowhere. I'm not saying Mariah's won't, but Toni is so beloved and she needs to get revenge. Unless you have a situation where Luther turns on her too, I don't know. I mean, I think you eventually give Mariah the belt, but I don't know if you give it to her at All In. Like if
that's the issue, is to your point.
Mhm.
I'm so on the same page when it comes to this, because
Yeah.
this was my only problem with last night is, so Mariah May turned definitively heel. Obviously, we all know that, but she's gonna get cheered at Wembley. She will get cheered over Toni Storm.
She's gonna win. She's gonna win at Wembley, and then she's gonna go back to like you can still. This is not done at Wembley. This is a foregone feud.
I think it's one of those things that they have to play very closely. I don't know what way it's going to be tough for them.
I thought your suggestion about like keep almost like a will she show up storyline for Toni.
I would almost, you play the music and she doesn't come out.
Yeah.
And Mariah's like, she forfeits. We haven't seen her. Award me the title. And then the music plays again. And she's like, she's not coming out. And then
she comes out.
Yes, that's what I'm making a grand entrance.
If she loses at Wembley, that's just, you destroyed Mariah May's meeting.
No, I don't think so.
No,
because she just turned heel though.
She just turned heel.
If she was a face,
title and you keep making her a major heel, that's a good way to develop her as a character.
Yes.
And give her that moment, her and Toni can feud. Like it don't gotta be.
But it doesn't have to be at Wembley for her to do it.
Yeah,
that's what makes the moment.
Win the ring.
I mean, it's contradicting.
If she was a face, yes,
earlier.
It makes the moment. If she's a face, it makes the moment, but not as a heel.
Yeah, but Brits are heels. I'm just joking.
I actually think they all are. That's a good point. Even Ben Allison.
I will say this, and I don't want to make this a debate or whatever. I don't want to make this a debate, obviously, but I kind of disagree with y'all on. I think what he said yesterday was out of pocket, personally, but that's just me. I just want to let that be known on the podcast. Tony Schiavone. I think what he said was out of pocket. Very disrespectful. A man saying that to a woman is never right in place, and I don't care if it's in character. How he said it came off really D-baggish, and I lost
It's fair.
respect for him last night on that. But that's just me. Y'all, people can have their opinion. I just want people on the live and them to know that I thought the joint was whack, and I said it
Uh,
known on Twitter too. But
I didn't think it should have been as important as it was. To your point, Shad,
It
I
became
think
a
you're
bigger
right.
thing, yeah.
And um, like so when I heard it live, right, it didn't register with me. But to your point, on paper, and if you read it, especially right, like whether you heard it or not, but if you read it, it looks really bad. And that is a good point, right? It is inappropriate in
I
that way.
think
No. I
no,
want to
no.
be clear.
I
I think we
I
all are on the same
no,
page on
absolutely.
that.
I think it was more like, to me, where I thought it was in character based on the tone. The tone sounded like Tony Schiavone playing the character as he's
Yeah.
done over the years.
I saw it as a swing and a bad miss,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I don't think Shivani, given his history, meant harm by
no,
it.
I'm not. Look,
Yeah.
I don't think Shivani is some bad person or whatnot. I don't think he feels that way. But how that tone comes off with it
No, it
wasn't
wasn't
good,
right.
and it wasn't cool. And I would say that to any announcer, whoever, if like Booker T said that,
No.
or if Michael Cole said that, Pat McAfee said that,
It's
and
totally
Pat
fair.
McAfee say out of pocket
Um,
stuff all the time too. And I'm just like,
all the time.
yo, calm down, bro. Like, don't you come on, man. Anyways, my bad.
Yes. Okay, let's get into the main event though. We have Kazuchika Okada and Swerve, and we have shenanigans. We have swerves. Pro wrestling. We have swerves in a swerve match.
I
It
think
was
this is gonna be a
awesome.
fun topic.
I dug it. I had a good time with it. Shad, look, take it away. What were your thoughts on it? And I mean, obviously,
This is this has been a debate today, man. And so the main event, in my opinion, it was kind of a non-factor. A taste, if anything, that's like a free sample at Costco. They gave you a little bit of a taste of what Okada and Swerve could be in a match, which is cool, right? I know on main event side it looks good on paper, but we didn't get as much as we thought we were going to get in the match. DQ finish, expecting that. Everything is kind of tied to the build that we're going with Blood and Guts, and I said it. I know Ben mentioned it on the Allison analysis, and me and him kind of mirror the same thoughts. I don't necessarily have an issue with how storylines correlate for this Blood and Guts match, right? Because everything kind of makes sense when it comes to the team that is going against the Elite. But it's what I said yesterday on the news show. Tony Khan has a bad habit of naming stuff that lets the fans down, right? When you say the greatest match or the greatest signing, right? And then you said Team All Elite, the best of AEW, and you have the Acclaim, who great tag team for AEW. Over throughout these years, they are cold as a cold plunge ice bath right now, right? They're not hot. They're very cold. People are kind of tired of it. Max Caster has really brought their stock down a lot. You got Mark Briscoe. I love Mark Briscoe. I love the Briscoe brothers. He's an ROH guy. He's not a prevalent person in AEW. He doesn't feel like that. Then you got Swerve, who's the world champion. All is all good. Got to return in Darby Allin. I love Darby coming off. You know that it's vintage Darby. But when you sell us that, I feel like it doesn't get people super excited for Blood and Guts, and it brings the fear that a lot of people have is like, is this a washed idea? Do we need to step away for it a little bit and make it back important? Are we forcing the match, every year? And it's a very, very reasonable conversation to have because, you know, we've gone through like normally we've had the early Blood and Guts and it's really meant something. It's been, hard good storytelling leading into it. But this year, it's storytelling that correlates, but it's not anything that's drawn people's attention to it. And I know I'm gonna love the match because those matches are great. But for the long term storytelling aspect of it, I don't think they gave the fans what we could have had, right? If you're selling me a ticket for Team AEW, I'm thinking like Team USA, bro. You giving me LeBron, you giving me KD, you giving me Steph Curry, right? But nah, man, you giving me like a Tyrese Halliburton, you giving me a Derek White, you giving me like
It,
you know,
it, it,
Daniel Gafford.
it,
You ain't giving me like star
it,
players.
it does feel like we got the I don't want to say the B squad, but like the JV team
Yeah.
on one side by comparison. Like
You
it's a
got
little
one
like
you got one superstar, that's Swerve. You got a very good role player, that's Darby Allin. And Darby Allin, without a doubt, I don't care what anybody says, people can argue
Darb's
with me,
great.
No.
needs to be in that match because
I was
that
gonna
is
say two
his
superstars. I
type
would
of
actually
matches.
include Darby as a
Yeah.
superstar too, just because
Yeah,
of the
two superstars, and then you got an old veteran, and then you got two role players, like bench players.
Yeah.
I think the problem, and do I have time to run with this?
Go,
But
go ahead,
Yeah.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
just we'll go a little long.
yeah, honestly, like when I look at this, you know, the whole angle I think fell off. The wheels fell off. Like you start out hot, they take out Tony Khan, but we know Tony Khan's back, and they're still running the show, and he's running the show, and he appoints another EVP and Chris Daniels. Why? Nobody knows. There's no stakes in this. It's not like if Team AEW loses, the Bucks have full control of the company. Tony Khan's out for 60 days, whatever. There's no stakes. And the team as a whole, like you said, it's not the heart and soul of AEW. Like, to me, Swerve makes sense. He's the world champ, plus he has ties to Hangman. Get it. Understand that. The Acclaim is not the team that you like. When you look at heart and soul, that's not it. I would stick FTR in there. Darby's fine. I would stick Moxley in there. Like you need to put the people that are the true embodiment of AEW. But the problem is there's no real stakes. It's having a blood and guts match the same way when WWE would do Hell in the Cell every year. It's like, no, it's supposed
Great
to
call.
be. The story is supposed to
Even Extreme
dictate
Rules,
the
like
match.
the gimmicked
Yes,
pay-per-views,
T-
Elimination
TLC,
Chamber
the
is
themes.
played out, right?
The-
It's too
you-
much.
The story needs to dictate it. Now
That's a great call.
the story would dictate this, but the problem is there's no stakes. Tony's there. That's the problem. But we'll get in more into that next week.
I love what you said about the stakes.
Yes.
That's the key. Is there's got to be a bigger reason. And the other thing is, I get the Swerve in being on a team with them, but like we're so shortly removed from him having a team.
Yeah.
Under Nana, and like that's a little frustrating. A little like, why is he friends with these guys now? Wait, did he start changing in the other locker room?
Yeah, he said, I fought with y'all. And since I fought with y'all, you could be in my team.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh yeah, that was an easy, right, neat, nice. Like that was like,
you've already done the haphazard team. Like that's what Stadium Stampede.
Right.
That wasn't our complaint.
Although I loved the original Stadium Stampede's like one of my favorites.
No, but I'm saying like as far as Team AEW, I know we had the complaint even then. That really didn't feel like the embodiment. I get Omega's not available. Obviously, Omega would be in this match, but like, as much as I love Mark Briscoe, this isn't a Team Ring of Honor thing. This is AEW.
Totally.
It's not that.
True.
But yeah.
Let's get into Throwback Thursday.
Yes.
I'm so stoked about this one as our resident huge hoops fan. This is right up my alley. My mom worked with Karl Malone back in the day in sports marketing. Karl Malone and Diamond Dallas Page shared a love of wrestling and the Diamond Cutter, and a friendship was developed. And then it was shout out Jimi Hendrix, Hogan and Rodzilla running wild. We've got the NBA and pro wrestling in the same buildings at the same time. What a time to be alive. 1998, The Bash. Of course, it's famous, but what a build this was. An absolutely wild development. You have first DDP attending a Utah Jazz game. This is the one team that can beat the big bad Chicago Bulls from my hometown. The one team that has a chance, Stockton to Malone. They're the one team that could possibly beat Jordan and Pippen,
Mhm.
and that other guy, Rodman. The fact that Dennis Rodman missed an NBA Finals shoot-around practice to make a taping
Mhm.
will never happen again. That will never, ever, ever, ever happen again. This is a spot in time that will never be recreated. It's unique. And dang it, I don't know how seriously Rodman took it, but Malone looked like he did some training. The Diamond Cutter looked good. This is one of the wildest encounters. Obviously, we end up with Leno and other stuff like that, but this is unbelievable. At the peak of Jordan trying to win a 6th championship, Anthony, resident historian.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, Clark. Didn't they went into business on their own? Malone and Rodman did an interaction during the playoffs.
Yes.
Playing it up. Like, I mean, that was free publicity for WCW.
Oh, the biggest thing about that is the rumor is, this is a rumor, but like that they agreed that they would argue just enough for them to be able to get clips of it.
Yes.
But not get technical fouls.
I think they both talked about that, so I don't think it's a rumor. I think they have talked about it, or DEP's talked. They've talked. Right. I've heard this, but you know, when you think about it, 1998, it's the peak time as a wrestling fan. Like WWF is getting back into kicking into high gear with the Attitude Era. WCW still riding high with the NWO. Again, like we covered last week, 2 years prior, the NWO formed at this very event, Bash at the Beach. Right. So, you know, mixing professional wrestling with other athletes or stars has been synonymous in wrestling for years. You know, from Andy Kaufman feuding with Jerry Lawler to the millions and millions of people WWE has brought in over the years, and WCW started getting into that. Obviously, Hogan with Rodman, who is an NWO member, which I believe, I forget what it was. Wasn't there something recent Rodman was on and it was listed on the screen, that NWO member, if I'm not mistaken? I forget what it was, but he was on something fairly recently and it listed all as accomplishments, and I believe it listed NWO member. I can't swear to it, but I'm pretty sure it did. But you know, DDP and Malone took it seriously. I don't know how serious Rodman took the training. But it was, you weren't expecting a 5-star classic here, but it was entertaining. It was the main event, which you expect it to be the main event because of the names that were in this match. You know, there were diamond cutters galore. I don't believe I ever watched, I didn't watch it live when it happened. But I did watch it, obviously, you know, prior to us covering it. I completely forgot that Hogan and Rodman actually came out on top.
Get the win.
Yeah, they get the win. And then after the match is over, Malone gives the referee, which I believe was Charles Robinson.
I believe it was Chuck Robb.
Who's the only one from WCW that's still in the business today.
Yes.
Gave him a diamond cutter.
Shout out Nick Patrick, weirdest count ever.
And I think the announcers said something along the lines of, "Oh, we're sure he'll be fined by WCW, but we don't know about the NBA if they're going to fine him for it." I think Bobby the Brain referred to Malone's wingspan. He said he's like a condor. If I remember.
Well, I mean, Malone he's got a 7-foot wingspan.
Yeah. So yeah, it's an entertaining. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. The last thing, buy rates, because everything's about buy rates and things like that. I know fans today don't really get that because things are on networks, but people used to have to buy pay-per-views. The 1997 Bash at the Beach, the year prior, got 325,000 buys. This one got 580,000. So star power, buy rates comes together.
I love it. Absolutely. And I mean, America was so over the top, encompassed by this Jazz Bowls back-to-back finals rivalry. You have Michael Jordan, arguably the most famous athlete of all time. Maybe Muhammad Ali.
Ali probably, then him,
right?
yeah.
American athletes,
yeah.
As far as that's concerned, I apologize that we are an international company, but generally speaking, right? As far as American athletes are concerned,
Yeah.
it's kind of Ali, Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And take your pick. To take advantage of that at the time and have Rodman involved and Malone. Malone was the big bad guy. He was the one that could have got Jordan. He didn't. Obviously, Jordan crossed up Byron Russell. He's the Bulls. But
Not
the
that you're
most
biased at all.
fascinating part about, sorry, not to be biased, but the most fascinating part about it to me, and Sean, I got to ask you about this part of it too. Like Anthony mentioned, Rodman and Hogan win. So they put the back. This was the chance for Malone to get his redemption, and they still were like, no.
I wouldn't want to see the Jazz win anything.
Creative control, Clark.
Yeah, man.
It's just like,
Plus, you got the great Mr. Hulk. I'm talking at the RNC tonight. Hogan, bro. He ain't gonna lose that match. Sorry, I had to.
You want to talk about backstage politics?
Talk about backstage, right? He's really taking that pretty seriously. Nah, man. It honestly that whole time frame, it was really cool to see, man. And like it's the beauty of it. I mean, obviously on the spotlight, we talked about like the worlds of hip hop and wrestling being so coincided with each other, but like that was like the cool thing, man. Like 90s within WCW and then the WWF kind of merging within obviously early 80s, 90s, and still doing it to this day. But having like pop culture people and athletes like that, and that's like you said, man. Dennis Rodman, he's just one of those figures that he's like a sports entertainer just in general, right? He oozes the sports entertainer mantra at the end of the day, and he fits like a glove. Obviously, if y'all watch The Last Dance, you talk about a lot of what happened with him missing going to like the WCW with the whole NWO thing. So all of that is great, and I mean even to this day, man, like you even saw it like last month with the whole Knicks and Pacers with Halliburton and Brunson, right?
Yep.
Like I would like to see them have like it doesn't even have to be like new like current day NBA players, but like maybe two retired players that are still because NBA players retire relatively like young at like they're like a little older than us, right? Early mid 30s, they're still in good shape. Like I would do something like that. Like I would love to see like Kevin Garnett and like Paul Pierce do something in the in a wrestling ring right now. Or like even when Jalen Brunson and Halliburton, I was like, man, I really want them to fight, but they're not gonna probably have them wrestle, especially nowadays. But man, the '90s were a great time, bro. The '90s were a great time. WCW
the best
with some peak stuff because they like I don't care what anyone says. It may not be. You may look back at it and you're just like, this is so freaking crazy and goofy. But like it was so cool, man. It was so fun and cool to just see, especially when you're like young and you're literally watching these guys play in the NBA finals and then you see them wrestle in a ring. Like and
Clark
DDP,
said,
man.
Like Clark said, they'll never allow that to happen today.
Oh,
Because
yeah, no way.
the insurance companies, the leagues would get involved. The perfect example was the in TNA, Pac-Man Jones. Literally, they were allowed to use this man, but he was not allowed to be touched or to touch anyone. Yet he's a former TNA Tag Team Champion with R-Truth, so he won the titles without actually touching anyone or being touched.
Ain't what's his name used to be in TNA, right? The dude on the Panthers, D'Angelo Williams.
Yes. Well, no, I mean one of the funniest
though,
ones. Yes, D'Angelo did wrestle as well. D'Angelo Williams wrestled multiple matches. The craziest one is Frank Wycheck delivering the pile driver, the tight end from the tight end from the Titans. Back in the day, bro, he jumped the rail and he hit a pile driver
against Jarrett again.
I think it was Jeff Jarrett. Yeah, no, but
they were in Tennessee. Yeah.
Wycheck jumped the rail and pile drove, and like the best was.
Like, I really want to see Russell Westbrook versus Will Ospreay.
Yes. No,
I think Russell Westbrook can match his athleticism, bro. Like that would be. Well, maybe prime Russ would overmatch his athleticism.
How about John Wall?
But by
Prime
the way,
John Wall would
Prime John Wall.
As big as he was back then, how is it possible that no one went for Deion Sanders to get involved in any type of wrestling angle.
He was born for it.
He's literally called primetime.
He's genuinely, he's the only head coach I've ever seen who like does a press conference and you're like, that's pro wrestling promos.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Deion Sanders is like, that you're right though. In regards to just like showmanship, even if he didn't wrestle a match, I would just want to see his entrance.
Just him as a manager for somebody, just for a short, very, very short run.
Yes.
But it was probably too much money. It's probably wanted too much. Well,
even
and also
like
he was doing baseball and football at the same time. So
was it the ESPN interview where he did the like, have you ever seen anybody so clean that they make people nervous or whatever? You're like, Deion, what are you even? You're the head coach at the University of Colorado. You're like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
If I was
Deion or whatever the hell it was.
If I was to pick guys who are like maybe not doing it anymore, but like just personality wise, that could make a good jump. Chad Ochocinco definitely could be a good like talking mouthpiece. I think he'd do good. Shannon Sharp also, he's like Shannon Sharp, salute to him. He is a
Shay.
But like he's like a wrestling, like he's like a territory wrestling fan. He knows all the southern, like they had when his interview with Ric Flair, his knowledge is substantial, bro.
It's crazy. He's a huge fan.
Like he could get on throwback.
Speaking of characters, Terrell Owens was also out there.
Oh, T.O. would have been great. T.O.'s perfect for him and Ocho too.
T.O.'s still in freaking phenomenal shape at 50.
Oh, he's ripped. Like, dude, I think he could still play if he had to.
He's mad at Brady because he couldn't take him up on that.
Yeah, somebody should have signed T.O. Give him a shot.
Just invite him to training camp to see what he does. I want to just see for the heck of it.
I just want to sign him during the preseason for my next Madden franchise. Like, can we just get him in the free agency?
But bear in mind, we got Pete Rhodes at a WrestleMania. Multiple WrestleManias.
Multiple tombstones taken.
Yes. Yeah. A feud with Kane.
We could do an entire throwback episode literally just talking about like
celebrities
athlete crossovers.
I think I know what I'll tell it to you offline. I think I know what I want the Sunday Fun Day topic to be next week.
Okay. I mean, we had for Fun Day, that's perfect. But I mean,
I'll just say now, what about we do a literal draft of like athletes and celebrities for wrestling promotion?
Could you not do it next weekend because I can't do next Sunday? But I definitely am.
Yeah, no, a week from Sunday, and we have to do that. Yes.
All right, I'll do it. Yes.
Because, by the way, I mean,
that would be fun.
If you don't take Mr. T in boxing gloves against Roddy Piper first, you've missed. But does he count as an athlete? Now it's controversial.
Well, see. William Refrigerator Perry.
Gonna have to tune in.
I'm still mad at WWE for putting Post Malone and MGK in the games for some odd reason. Well, at least MGK took a bump by Kevin Owens, right?
Hey, listen, Fred Durst was in a SmackDown game one year. He never wrestled.
So true. I forgot about that.
He did the Undertaker's
Fred Durst was in the SmackDown. This is wrong game.
Yeah, he blessed us with some good tunes, though.
Okay, by the way, you guys got multiple throwback topics this week. 100%.
That's what we do.
I hope everyone has an excellent Thursday. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, same time, well, not the same time, noon Pacific. That's 3 on the East Coast. That's, of course, 8 o'clock in the UK and 9 a.m. in Hawaii. Tomorrow for the daily broadcast. Thank you. If you haven't already smashed that like button and subscribed, please do. It means the world to us. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great Thursday, evening, night, morning, wherever you are. Have a good one.
So we're rolling.